WrestleMania 40, is it going to flop? Or is it going to be one of the greatest WrestleManias to date? So before we get into breaking down the matches and why they could potentially flop or why they're great, I do want to stress that obviously not every match has been announced. At least I would hope not, considering there's 2 nights. But yeah, so there's probably going to be matches that are going to get announced soon, you know, after this video's gone out. I know this isn't the full WrestleMania card, I know there's still more to come, but as of right now, these are my thoughts on the WrestleMania card. So first up, LA Knight versus AJ Styles. It's got everything to be a banger, it has. The only issue I think WWE could run into is that it could be very average, just based on the lack of build. I mean, AJ and LA Knight haven't really been on TV in a substantial way. And the last big thing we had from both of them was at the Elimination Chamber. Since then, not much. There's been a bit of back and forth, but nothing to really grip the attention if you're a casual, you know? Nothing that people would really pick up on. I think the biggest thing I've seen besides Elimination Chamber to do with these two was LA Knight hitting the TV with a steel chair. So, not great luck, is it? But also, not to mention the fact that this isn't really the match people wanted for the US title. I saw people kind of speculating that there'd be like a bit of a ladder match or a turmoil match in some way. Obviously, we know that that's happening with the tag titles instead. But yeah, people didn't really want this. People wanted LA Knight versus Logan Paul at the very least. And it's mainly because, I mean, LA Knight is still super over right now. And a lot of his fans, and a lot of fans in general, think that he should be either in the world title or at least have the mid-card belt for a little bit. Which, to be honest, that's the direction I thought we were going. I thought it was going to end up being LA Knight versus Logan, and then Logan dropping the title at Mania. But we'll talk about it in a bit, but obviously we know that we're getting the triple threat match now, so I don't know. I don't think it'll be a bad match. I just think it could be very average. It could be okay, you know. It might not end up being a banger that everybody thinks it could be. I think that's where it could flop. But on the other hand, you've got 2 very talented individuals. Obviously, AJ Styles is a veteran at this point, and LA Knight is a veteran as well. And obviously super over right now, and you can't really put a foot wrong. It has the potential to be a banger. So next match, Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso. Should be an amazing match, because obviously they're brothers, they've teamed together for pretty much their entire careers, so the chemistry should be there. However, again, similar to the AJ and LA Knight thing, it's the lack of build. I know that there'll be an argument of, oh, but Jimmy has cost Jey numerous times in title matches. I agree with that. However, I think at the Royal Rumble, that's where it all should have started. I know they had a moment where they were like, obviously they started the Rumble together. They had a little face-to-face, but I mean, Jey didn't eliminate Jimmy and Jimmy didn't eliminate Jey. Nothing really happened besides that first interaction. For me, at the Rumble, they should have done something better. Like, they should have done something more. And by that, I mean the creative team. They should have come up with something better than just, oh, we'll have a little moment and then Jimmy gets eliminated by someone completely different. I don't remember who Jimmy got eliminated by. We could have even had a scenario where Jimmy or Jey, no, well, it would be Jimmy because he's the heel, but where we have Jimmy not even enter the Rumble and just at some point maybe have Jey go almost the distance, you know, like be in the Rumble match for a long time, and then Jimmy comes out to kind of screw him. Kind of like how Kane did to CM Punk in 2014, 15, something like that. But something similar to that even could have been done. If not, then Jimmy could have eliminated Jey or vice versa, and then that's how, you know, we lead into Jimmy costing Jey the IC title and whatnot. But we haven't got that. But nevertheless, it should still be good. It should still be a good match. The recent Raw promo between them both was good. Jey kind of saying, look, I haven't given up on you yet kind of thing. And then Jimmy basically saying, nah, you left me. You know, you went off to Raw and was becoming a main event star all over again, you know, and you were getting over. You were the biggest star on Raw, which, I mean, obviously Cody's on Raw, so that's not true. But, you know, but yeah, I also saw people say that it didn't make sense for Cody to make the save this past Monday. But in case people have forgotten, Cody's fighting Roman. Roman is the leader of the Bloodline. So it's basically Cody taking a shot at the Bloodline. In fact, quite literally taking a shot at the Bloodline. So to me, it made sense. Was it necessary? Maybe not. But at the same time, I'm not mad that it happened. You know? Up next, we have the triple threat match for the United States Championship. Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. Let's start with the biggest thing. Nobody really wanted it. It was one of these things that nobody really asked for. Are we mad that we're getting it? No, because you know, you've got Randy Orton in the match, you've got Kevin Owens in the match, and you've got Logan Paul in the match. It should be insane and very entertaining, but this wasn't the match we thought we were getting. As I mentioned earlier, we thought it was going to be Logan versus LA Knight for the United States title. That's not the route we've gone down. If you ask me, Randy doesn't really need the US title. I mean, we don't know how long we actually have of this run from Randy Orton. You know, obviously with the back injury and whatnot, this could very well be the last run of Randy Orton. I know at Survivor Series when he came back, he joked and said that he was going to be doing this another 10 years, which, listen, best case scenario, let's go for it. But look, you never know, right? So this could very well be his last run, or at least one of his last runs. So I don't think he needs it. He needs to be around the world titles, or he needs to be involved. If he's not going to be around titles, like, he doesn't need the US title. At this stage in his career, he doesn't need it. I think Logan is a very good candidate of what the United States champion should be in terms of the kind of younger talent that, you know, can put on banger matches. I know I say that and then say that LA Knight should be the one to win the title from him, but with LA Knight, it's different, isn't it? Because a lot of fans want to see him hold the championship, which, you know, I completely get. For me, I'm not crazy on LA Knight. I don't hate him, but I think he's a bit too similar to The Rock for me. But look, a lot of people like him. I wouldn't mind him being United States champion for a bit, but I don't think Randy needs it. And to be honest, Kevin Owens is a bit 50-50, because I think you could make the argument that he doesn't really need it at this point. At the same time, you could also argue, or not argue it, but like, he wouldn't be an awful shout to have the belt on. Obviously, KO hasn't held a singles title in a while, so I wouldn't be mad at it. Would it be my first choice? Probably not, but I wouldn't mind it. I think Kevin Owens has the ability to be, you know, in and around the title picture. I know we've seen him go up against Roman numerous times very early on in Reigns' title reign, and also at the Royal Rumble in 2023. So I don't know, for me, the Kevin Owens thing is a bit 50-50. Draft's coming up. Maybe he gets drafted to Raw, or at least the draft in people's minds is around the corner. We don't actually know. Nothing's confirmed, but people are kind of guessing that the draft would be around then. But we might not even do one, but if we do, then I'd like to see KO go back over to Raw, and then maybe he's around the world title picture. I think Logan, Randy, and KO, it has the potential again to be one of the matches of the night. Right, on to the Intercontinental Championship match. Gunther versus Sami Zayn. Probably the most controversial match on the card, and that's saying something considering The Rock and the whole Cody situation. But first and foremost, wasn't the match that fans wanted or expected. They wanted Chad Gable to obviously win the gauntlet the other week. That didn't end up happening. And that's nothing personal against Sami Zayn. It's just more of the fact that, I mean, all of the social media posts that Chad Gable's putting out, all these masterpieces of him saying that it just means more to him, is what really got fans on board. Whereas Sami has kind of just come into the IC title picture out of seemingly nowhere. And look, we've seen him hold the IC title before. People aren't desperate for him to be Intercontinental Champion again. I've seen the argument made that he should be around the world title, which I'm not mad at. Do I see him holding it for a substantial amount of time if he was around? Honestly, this goes for both belts, but no. I don't think he beats Gunther, to be honest. Also, another very key thing we need to take into consideration with this match in particular is that the creative plans were massively derailed by the whole Vince situation, right, in the allegations. Because originally it was going to be Gunther against Brock Lesnar for the IC title, which I think would have been a banger match. I'm not going to get into that whole situation, but you just have to take it into account that the original match is now not happening because of that situation. To be honest, I'm just not too invested in the IC title, as some people might be. I think for me, I'm obviously way more interested in the Bloodline stuff, The Rock, Cody. I'm way more interested in that than I am in the IC title. I'm interested in what Logan's doing because, I mean, I used to watch Logan's vlogs, you know, I think a lot of people did, and I'm, you know, those two worlds crossing, I like it a lot, so I'm very interested to see what he's doing and what Randy's doing. To be honest, Seth and Drew I'm not crazy about, but for the IC title, it's very low down on my list of interest, I'll be honest. And that's nothing personal. It's nothing to do with the storytelling or anything. I'm just not that interested in Gunther, and I'm not too bothered about his title reign. But yeah, that's just my opinion on that. Up next, we have the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. It could be one of the matches, could be one of the standouts if it's done right. However, I do think that we've seen this enough now, so it has to be different. I'm seeing people say that, you know, Drew should win very convincingly and just basically dominate. Kind of like Brock Lesnar and John Cena at Night of Champions. Was it Night of Champions? Whenever it was. Whenever Brock squashed Cena. Kind of a similar thing, and obviously that would tie into the tag match. That would be a part of storytelling. And that leads me into my next point. I feel like this match is massively overshadowed by the tag match and just The Rock in general. Just because, at least with Cody and Roman, right, whatever happens in the tag match directly impacts that match, right? Whereas with Seth and Drew, you can make the argument that, yes, okay, Seth's competing in it, so that's how it directly influences that match, but there's nothing else on the stake for Seth. You know, there's nothing else on the line for him in that match. You know, to be honest, if Seth loses in that tag match, it's not that big of a deal for him. Because, I mean, listen, would it sting? Yes, because at the end of the day, I would imagine you want to win the match. But at the same time, you know, there's way more implications and way bigger implications on Cody losing that tag match than there is on Seth losing that tag match. Because, I mean, Seth could still then retain his world title, but I'll get onto this in a second. But, I don't know. I don't think there's that much in it for Seth. I don't really know why he's involved. I'm not mad that he is. I think he's entertaining in this. I kind of like the champion versus champion. It's basically brand versus brand, isn't it, at this point? Obviously, you've got Roman and Rock that are primarily on SmackDown, and then you've got Cody and Seth who are on Raw. So I kind of like the angle in terms of it's kind of champion versus champion, brand versus brand. I could argue it's people's champion against people's champion. Hey, I'm just saying. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit overshadowed by the tag match, and it also could fall flat just based on the fact of we've seen this a few times now, you know. And also, kind of like the IC title, this wasn't the match we were gonna get, or at least it wasn't the match we were hoping for or expected, because obviously CM Punk got injured, so it was gonna be CM Punk versus Seth. Is the big belief from fans. But listen, I'm sure we'll get that match, whether it involves the world title or not. We'll get it at some point. But obviously, again, there's a domino effect there, right? Which I would imagine is somehow affecting why Sami Zayn is in the IC title picture and not Chad, and why Drew is yet again facing Seth at Mania. So, I don't know. But, yeah, it's just, there's a lot, this is the theme, right? And this is one of the big issues with this card, and it's something that WWE can't really avoid, is the injuries and how they've had to kind of backtrack on certain things because of the injuries, and, you know, not the Rock Roman thing and the whole Cody Roman thing, because that was just stupid, but in terms of the injuries, obviously they can't help that, so people have just got to take that into consideration as to, like, okay, this isn't the match we wanted, but this is what we've got, this is what we're getting, so we kind of just have to go with it. I think this match needs maybe a Damian Priest cash-in. The only way I see Seth retaining is if then Damian Priest comes down and cashes in successfully. But then I don't know why you then put Drew in this match again. I don't know. Obviously, again, I think Drew just has to be there just because, again, Punk got injured and whatnot. And then there's kind of this triangle where, you know, Seth was going at Punk. Seth kind of put Punk in the rearview mirror for now because of his injury and whatnot, whereas Drew is still going at Punk. Also, there's rumours that I've seen on Twitter, so, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt, but there's rumours that Seth is apparently taking a break after WrestleMania. So that would suggest that he's losing the title in some fashion at Mania, but obviously this is WWE. Nothing set in stone. So, I don't know, but I think it needs that. It needs something to make this one stand out from the numerous other times we've seen Seth take on Drew. So, Becky versus Rhea for the World Championship, for the Women's World Championship. I don't have much on this because I haven't really been paying attention to it, to be honest. But I do like Rhea Ripley as champion. But her overall run, to me, has been quite flat in the sense of she's not really been putting on bangers and bangers and bangers, right? She's kind of just been squashing people, which is fine, but I feel like she needs to be tested. We saw it with Nia. She's had glimpses, and this is what I think is keeping people interested and why people are so invested. One, because Rhea Ripley's so over anyway, but two, I think her run has been kind of average, you know, in terms, I mean, she squashed Natalya, she had a decent match with Zelina Vega, a decent match with Nia, but she's not really had too many standout moments since her winning the title. So, I don't know, for me, I don't see Becky winning. I think they could put on a banger, but I don't think Becky needs the belt right now. She's kind of above all of that. Just because, again, I think Becky is one of those people that is just going to be over no matter what. I mean, listen, never say never, but it seems like Becky's one of those people and one of those superstars that can really not have a title for a while and still be massively over and still tell really good and interesting stories. But at the same time, I think this is where a mid-card title could do well. Because right now, I mean, with the amount of talent that is on this roster in general, obviously with the men, it's a bit more, you can spread them out. You can give people more of a chance because you've got obviously the tag titles, you've got the IC title, you've got the US title, and then you've got both world championships. Whereas for women, or for the women, it's very much just you either go for the women's world title or the, what are they calling Io's belt? I've only just realised this. I feel like I've missed it. Is it just the WWE Women's Championship? I would imagine. But yeah, it's basically only those two, and then obviously the tag titles, but the tag titles seem to be cursed. Obviously, Asuka is a question mark for Mania right now because she seems to be injured, but we've not had any updates. In terms of Rhea versus Becky, I think Rhea's going to retain because, I don't know, honestly, right now, I look at the landscape of the women, and there's so many talented women, but on to the big ones, the very big ones. Roman Reigns and The Rock versus Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. I think Rock and Roman need to win this match, just because then it stacks the deck against Cody. Although I don't know how they're actually going to book it, because if they put on a 5-star banger, it could take away from the singles matches, and maybe the singles matches don't hit home as hard as the tag match did. Not to mention, it's always going to be a little bit more hype just because The Rock's involved. Build has been insane, but a lot of criticism that I've seen is to do with the fact that it feels a lot more like Cody Rhodes versus The Rock rather than Cody versus Roman. But I think that's WWE planting the very early seeds of Rock versus Roman, because I think we get that. So everyone that's crying online that actually did want The Rock versus Roman Reigns this year, you're going to have to just wait another year, and I don't think you can complain at that, because us as Cody fans had to do that last year when Cody lost. Which actually brings me on to my next point. Cody finishing the story has to be now. It has to be at Mania, because it has to be this year. Plain and simple. Because if not, they're going to get an AEW situation where Cody can't get over, he won't be challenging for a world title, or he might challenge for Seth's title, but nobody really wants that. So it's one of those where you just run the risk of burying your top babyface, and WWE are not going to want to do that. And look, that's not me saying just give Cody the belt for no reason, because, I mean, this is why the whole "we want Cody" thing started, was because people were annoyed at the fact that The Rock just came in and started throwing his weight around and basically said, "Nah, Cody, I'm on the board, move aside. I don't care that you've been building for 2 years, you know?" Cody Rhodes has only lost twice, right? It was only once, obviously he lost to Drew the other week, but, and the only other loss he's had was to Roman. You know, that's not accidental, that's on purpose from WWE. You know, they were building Cody and kind of having this full circle moment where, okay, you lost at last year's Mania, obviously him coming back, he then beat Seth, and then he challenged Roman, he lost, and then this year now feels like a full circle moment because they've had him beat people like Brock, you know? It feels like the stars are aligning, right, for Cody, and I'm getting too much into the main event, but going back to the tag match, like I said, the build has been great. That's the only main criticism I've seen. But making Roman feel secondary to The Rock and have The Rock walk around and say that he's the final boss, when in reality, if you look at the actual, you know, match card, obviously we know that this tag match is going to main event night 1. So if you actually look at it, while Roman is still involved, The Rock is actually just a stepping stone. He's just involved at that point. You know, if you actually really deep it, because then, at least for Cody, if you look at it from Cody's perspective, Rock's just in his way, so he's a stepping stone, right? And then the actual final boss is on night 2 for Cody, and it's Roman. So, you know, I think that's kind of a cool angle, but I think it's WWE planting the very early seeds for next year's WrestleMania when we most likely get The Rock versus Roman. And I think it will be at Mania. It won't be at a SummerSlam or anything, because I don't think The Rock is even going to be a part of WWE for a few months after Mania, because apparently he's filming and whatnot. So he's not going to be on the Saudi show, and I don't think he's going to be at SummerSlam. So I think it would be at Mania. So this will be just them planting the early seeds. Plus, not to mention that if somehow Cody and Seth do win night 1, whoever takes the pin it's going to create tension. I think Roman should take the pin. But even if not, even if then on night 2, if Roman loses, which he should do, but if he loses, that's going to create tension, because The Rock's going to be like, "Oh, how can you call yourself the tribal chief? You know, you couldn't even step up to the plate when we needed it," and all of this, right? So either way, I think we get Rock Roman. We should do, at least. But I think for night 1, personally, I think Rock and Roman should win and have to win, because Cody, I mean, The Rock coming in, it's just this massive obstacle for Cody, right, in his story and him finishing the story. So to make it, just give it that extra layer of it being more difficult, make it Bloodline rules, anything goes. This also just differentiates the 2 matches, because obviously last year was a straight up one-on-one, even though Solo got involved and the Usos and Sami and KO, but it was on paper, a straight up one-on-one match. So we don't just want a repeat of that. So with Bloodline rules, it just adds more drama, and it's another obstacle for Cody to overcome. And it would just make that moment of when Cody has pinned Roman 1, 2, 3 in the middle of that ring, it just makes it all that more sweet. Seeing Cody lift up that title, the fireworks going off, you know, his mum in the front row probably crying, Cody probably on his knees in the ring crying, you know. It would just hit that bit more if Cody like really overcomes the odds. Kind of like the Daniel Bryan situation, right, at WrestleMania 30. It's a similar kind of deal. So, on to the main event, or the co-main event, I think it was billed actually on Raw. So, I don't know what to make of that. But, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Championship, even though it is disputed because there's a world title on the other brand. Anyway, it could flop if it isn't Bloodline rules, as I just said. Could it still be an exciting match if it isn't Bloodline rules? Yes, but I think it has to be Bloodline rules just to have those two matches be completely different to each other. I want to stress is Cody needs to win clean. So even if there is interference, like last year, Sami and KO got involved, the Usos got involved, but this year it is Bloodline rules. Jimmy's going to be involved, Solo's going to be involved, Heyman's going to be involved in some way, and obviously The Rock is going to be involved in some way. So Cody really needs to assemble the Avengers, as everyone is saying, and, you know, make it Endgame, you know? So he can't give Roman a reason to complain and say that it's unfair and then kind of dog on Cody's win. Cody needs to win clean. All that the match needs is, for example, a Jey Uso, a Sami Zayn, a Kevin Owens to come down and just even the score, and that just be it. Not to actually interfere with the match, but just to even the odds, you know, get rid of Solo, get rid of Jimmy, get rid of The Rock, you know. But I think the biggest thing is that no matter what, Cody needs to win. Regardless of how we get there, Cody needs to win against Roman. He needs to pin Roman 1, 2, 3 in that ring. Because if he doesn't, like I mentioned it earlier, people are going to start to turn on Cody, and WWE are essentially just going to bury their top babyface. I mean, look, people are kind of sick of WWE using Cody for everything, whether it's media appearances, whether it's interviews, whether it's, you know, promos or on certain things, or, I mean, whatever, right? Some people are kind of sick of the way WWE are forcing Cody down everyone's throats, which I kind of understand. But at the same time, he's got a massive fan base. Cody's fan base is a pretty young fan base, right? It's kids and, you know, families and whatnot. So you can understand why WWE would want Cody as the face of the company, which he already is, in my opinion, just because of how extra he is. But, you know, making all these moments for the fans and whatnot. But if you have Cody lose 2 years in a row, regardless of how it happens, if he loses 2 years in a row, people are going to lose interest and turn on Cody. And then again, like I said earlier, you're going to have a sort of AEW situation where the fans aren't going to get behind him. They're going to start booing him and drive him out of the world title picture. And then before you know it, he's another mid-carder, you know, which he shouldn't be, and he isn't. So he needs to finish the story. Like where they are with Roman, but I feel like his time's done. Like, him versus Rock does not need the belt. And I actually saw a while ago that there was a theory, and like, if you look at the booking of Roman recently, it does suggest that Cody could have won last year. And not just because, oh, he was in the match, you know, it could have happened. But just look at the booking. You had Cody going up against Brock, and you had Roman getting into tag team matches, right? Which, you don't need the belt for those tag matches. So I don't know why they ended up keeping the belt on Roman, but look, maybe it's the bigger occasion. It's WrestleMania 40. We're celebrating 40 years of WrestleMania, so maybe just because it's a bigger occasion that it happens this year. But no matter what, Cody has to win, in my opinion. I just want to touch on the tag ladder match. We don't have all of the teams, which is why I don't really want to give an opinion on it yet. But obviously there are rumours of the tag titles being split. which would be a good thing because there are more than enough tag teams deserve tag matches and, you know, tag title opportunities. Obviously, like I said, we don't know all the participants yet. Can't really give an opinion on that as a whole, but I do like the idea of a comedic ending, or at least, you know, whether it's Miz and Truth that, you know, grab one set of titles and then the Judgment Day grab the other set, something like that, and that's how we split them, something like that. But yeah, that's all I'll really say on that because we don't know the full landscape of that match yet. So know what you think as well in the comments. Agree with what I've said? Do you have a different view? Let me know in the comments, and if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for me. It's very much appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.